Welcome to Morning Devotion Light. Happy Sunday. Happy Day of All True Things. Happy Father's Day. Let's begin by greeting our Heavenly Parent and true parents. Chanjin cham pumanamge kyungbe. Hado. And for our family pledge, let's invite Pastor Milhan Stevens.
가족맹세 1. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 본향 땅을 찾아 본연의 창조 이상인 지상 천국과 천상 천국을 창건할 것을 맹세하나이다. 2. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 참부모님을 모시어 천주의 대표적 가정이 되며 중심적 가정이 되어 가정에서는 효자, 국가에서는 중심, 세계에서는 성인, 천주에서는 성자의 가정의 도리를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 3. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 4대 심정권과 3대 왕권과皇族권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 4. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님의 창조 이상인 천주대 가족을 형성하여 자유와 평화와 통일과 행복의 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 5. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 매일 주체적 천상세계와 대상적 지상세계의 통일을 향해 전진적 발전을 촉진화할 것을 맹세하나이다. 6. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 참부모님의 대신 가정으로서 천운을 움직이는 가정이 되어 하늘의 축복을 주변에 연결시키는 가정을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 7. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 본연의 혈통과 연결된 위하는 생활을 통하여 심정문화 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 8. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 자녀국 시대를 맞이하여 절대 신앙, 절대 사랑, 절대 복종으로 신인의 일체 이상을 이루어 지상 천국과 천상 천국의 해방권과 석방권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다.
Thank you, Pastor Milhan. Now for our opening prayer, can I please invite Wilson? Wilson, can you please unmute and pray for us today?
Sure. Please join me in prayer.
Thank you.
Thank you, the parents, for this morning and day of all the things that we'll be celebrating later today in the service. And I'd like to honor today the people of the Korean Peninsula that suffer so much, especially during the Korean War, when millions of people die on both sides, north and south, and they died to establish the foundation for receiving the Messiah. And also millions of people dying in Japan during the Second World War to do the same thing. In their case, they had to withstand 2 atomic bombs as well. And they all had to establish the foundation for receiving the Messiah. And also in this country, we had the civil war, there are hundreds of thousands of people die. In the Second War, the hundreds of thousands of soldiers died in the war. Exactly the same. So I'd like to honor them and remember them today as we move forward our providence in honor and respect for all those that give their lives for true parents. And I'd like to pray and thank you for the ancestors liberation we have next week, and Belvedere, Chamber of Great Works, the opportunity to liberate and bless our ancestors and move forward in the spiritual world to establish the footprint of true parents and expand our the meaning of the spiritual world, and our ancestors can help us with our missions in earth. I also like to pray for our new leader and chairman, national president and chairman, Reverend Miha Stevens. I would like to pray for him, his wife and children, with a new mission, great responsibility to bring us to a new plan, a new action to restore this country. Thank you very much for everything. All this ask in the name of true parents and Jesus Christ's name. My name also very blessed and families.
That's you. Thank you, Wilson. All right, brothers and sisters, let's take a few moments to go to our sharing and breakout room. See you in 5 minutes. Thank you, everyone. Ayaka-san, would you like to share with us today?
Good morning, everybody. Happy Father's Day to those fathers and grandfathers and father-to-be. I mentioned that we've been studying it and watching it. Reverend Dunkley's video, he put it on the YouTubes to connect his world connection to True Mother, how he got into that really deep artistic realm with True Mother. That is something that I respect very much. I really long to go into that world myself, and we are studying it. And I'm very grateful that he left a record of videos, and he was doing it since he was in America, but he kept doing it. So very grateful. That's what I mentioned. Importance of leaving a record behind.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ayaka-san. I agree with you. All right, brothers and sisters, now it's time for our Gottable reading with Pastor Milhan Stevens.
Thank you. And yeah, something Reverend Dunkley is really good at, and something we all should be doing, taking records, making videos. Each of us have precious insights and experiences that will be studied forever. So it's it's important. Okay. Happy Father's Day, happy Day of All True Things, and happy Independence Day, because it's July 4th in our 2021 over here. So yeah, I need to share my sound. Okay, let's begin.
Welcome to Mother of Peace, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. A memoir by Hak Jahan Moon, a production of the Washington Times Global Media Group, narrated by Allison Hiroto. Thank you, Mother. Please take care of everything. Moon, moon, bright moon, the moon with which Etiquette used to play. Far away on that moon there is a cinnamon tree. I cut it down with a jade axe and trimmed it with a gold axe to build a small cottage where I attend my mother and father. I want to live with them forever. I want to live with them forever. While laden with sadness, this traditional Korean song also stirs and uplifts the heart. The wish to live forever with one's mother and father conveys the heart of filial piety. We are orphans, far from the heavenly parent whom we have lost, and we have to find our true parents and our original homeland. Nothing leads to greater happiness than being able to attend the beloved parents for whom we long, be it in a palace or a small hut. Everything and everyone loves the sun. Only with the sun can life flourish. The moon, on the other hand, bestows something else. The sun represents splendor, the moon, tranquility. When people are far from home, they tend to think about their hometown and long for their parents while looking at the moon, not at the sun. I have fond memories of gazing at the moon together with my husband. We watched it with many members during the Korean Chuseok Harvest Festival and at the first full moon of the new year. Nonetheless, those moments were rare. My husband and I could not immerse ourselves in such tranquility. After this work is done, my husband would always say, and so would I, after this work is finished and we have a bit of free time, we'll be able to take a break. Over our years of ministry, one would think that there would have been brief moments to relax after completing an urgent task. But for us, free time never materialized. Spurred on by the thought of my grandmother Jo crying, "Manse," for the independence and salvation of our nation, I burned with a youthful passion for saving humanity and building a peaceful world. I have always held high the banner of peace, inheriting the March 1st independence movement's noble spirit of nonviolence and self-determination. Because I lived with this sense of urgency, I found myself accomplishing what I would never have imagined possible. Throughout my life, I have done my utmost to fulfill all the tasks that have come to me. I have striven to dedicate myself to living for the sake of others with one heart and one will. I have never given my body the rest it needs. Many were the times I neglected to eat or sleep. My husband, Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon, who was often known as Father Moon, was the same. He was born with a strong physique, and had he taken better care of his health, he would have had more time to work for a better world. But he too followed God's will with unflinching devotion, and this damaged his health, ultimately to the point of no return. Up to 4 or 5 years before his ascension, in 2012, he was in continual motion, living each day as if it were 1,000 years. His work was strenuous, both physically and spiritually. For example, he often spent entire nights in a small fishing boat on rough seas. He did this for the sake of others, setting an example for our ocean church members as well as leaders who accompanied him. He wanted to help them cultivate patience and the spirit to overcome hardship. Father Moon constantly traveled between continents, and it usually was between East and West, which takes a much greater toll than traveling between North and South. Considering his age, he traveled far too often between Korea and the United States. He should have limited such trips to once every 2 to 3 years, but he would not consider it. The year before his passing at age 92, he traveled between Korea and America at least 8 times. This was a complete self-sacrifice, offered solely for God and humankind. Father Moon's daily schedule itself was grueling. Every morning he would rise at 3 a.m., exercise, pray, and study. At 5 a.m., he led Hundokwe, which means gathering to read and learn, with followers. It was a time of devotional scripture reading, prayer, and instruction. During Hundokwe, my husband had so much to share that it was not uncommon for it to continue for up to 10 hours, skipping breakfast and lunch. No sooner would he conclude the session than he would grab a quick bite and depart to visit a movement project. In the final years while in Korea, he would travel by helicopter to Kolmun Island, or Yosu, where we were developing fishing, recreational, and educational facilities. Into his 70s, Father Moon could handle this physically, but in his last decade, it would wear him out, and he would end up with a cold, or worse. Of course, he would ignore the symptoms, and then, during the summer of 2012, he caught a deep chest cold that was particularly alarming. We should have gone to the hospital immediately, but he kept postponing it, saying over and over, "We can go after this is done." Eventually, the decision was non-negotiable. He had to go to the hospital. His body was already in a very fragile state. He was hospitalized for a short time, but as soon as his medical examinations were finished, he stubbornly insisted on being discharged. We tried to persuade him to stay longer, but he wouldn't listen. "I still have a lot of work to do. I can't just sit here in hospital," he said, scolding the people who advised him to stay. There was no choice but to discharge him. That was August 12th, 2012. We arrived home, and all of a sudden he said, "I want to have breakfast sitting opposite you, Oma." The members who heard this weren't sure they heard him right, because I always sat next to my husband during meals, not facing him. And then, when the food was served, my husband seemed uninterested in eating. He just gazed at me, as if he were trying to engrave my face in his heart. I smiled and placed a spoon in his hand and something from the side dishes on his plate. "These vegetables are delicious, so take your time to eat," I said. The next day, the sun was unusually strong, even for midsummer. In the oppressive heat, Father Moon toured parts of our Chunwoon complex on the shores of Changpyeong Lake, accompanied by an oxygen tank larger than himself. Upon his return to our home, Chonjonggun, he asked me to bring a voice recorder. With the recorder in his hand, he fell into deep thought for 10 minutes, and then little by little began recording his thoughts. He stated that when we transcend the history of the fall and return to the original Garden of Eden, following only God, we can then move in the direction of the kingdom of heaven. He also proclaimed that we can restore nations through fulfilling the mission of guiding our tribes. It was a soliloquy and prayer that embraced the beginning and the end, the Alpha and Omega. Everything has been accomplished. I offer everything to heaven, he said in closing. Everything has been brought to its consummation, completion, and conclusion. This turned out to be True Father's final prayer. With it, he brought his life to a close. Breathing with some difficulty for a moment, he squeezed my hand tightly. Mother, thank you. Mother, please take care of everything. I'm so sorry, and I'm truly grateful, he said, struggling to get the words out. Again and again he said those same words. I held his hand more and more firmly, and with warm words and loving eyes, holding back the tears, I reassured him that everything would be all right. Don't worry about anything. On September 3rd, 2012, my husband, Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon, ascended into God's embrace. He was 93 years old by the Korean way of counting, and was laid to rest in the Ponhonghwan, which means the garden in the original hometown, beside a pond on Mount Chonsong. I have often slipped into deep thought, gazing at the moon rising above Mount Chonsong. I cut it down with a jade axe and trimmed it with a gold axe to build a small cottage where I attend my mother and father. I want to live with them forever. I repeat this poem to myself over and over.
Thank you for listening to Godable. Visit motherofpeacebook.com to purchase the
Thank you, Godly Parents, for these words today. It's very hard to describe the feeling and emotions that we all have, and your mother has, father, and I'm sure we all have a story of when we first heard the news father passed, and probably where you were sitting or what you were doing at the time. I mean, because I do. And all kinds of mixed feelings of things that, the untimeliness of it, the sense that something wasn't right. You saw a lot of turmoil in the True family, and yet mother could still say, mother could say that it's going to be all right. That's all it means, is that she took it on herself. This poem, when you first read it, it sounds like, oh, that sounds nice. And then after reading all of this and then reciting it again, has a different meaning. Now it was how mother could comfort herself, that despite how awful things are, that God's promise must be true, that our pledge, our covenant with God must come true as we continue to serve and continue to lift up God and the principle and everything, that the blessing, that there must be the day in where we live in peace, where we won't be invaded by Satan anymore. You can live in a cottage, you can live in a palace, it doesn't matter. Like, we just live together with our parents. Yeah, we are orphans, far from the heavenly parent whom we've lost. We have to find our true parents in our original homeland. Every chance I get, I try to remind people about how things are going to go down when true parents become known to the world. Mother is talking about, when she's talking about the 1/3 of the population of all planet Earth will recognize the 10 true parents. Apparently now it's become half, and so the goal has been increased. Rushford told me that yesterday, apparently. Maybe you already knew that. Well, I'll tell you how it's going to happen. It's going to be much like the book Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Flies, for those who know that book, it was a required reading in high school. And basically you have these children lost, who are stranded on a deserted island. They're like, early middle school kids. And they started off as friends, and they ended up as savages trying to kill each other. And it's a perfect analogy of this, of all of the world, that we're just children without parents and became animals. And then, at the very end of the book, where the protagonist is running through the forest just for his life, he hits the beach shore where he sees 2 giant boots on the ground. And it was a soldier. He lay like an adult soldier, looked up and he just cried. Just cried and cried like a little kid. And then the other kids showed up to the shore. They're all wearing their savage outfits and war paint all over them. They look up and everyone just starts crying like little kids. Because you know what? No matter what our situation is, no matter how ambitious we are in our endeavors, whatever they are, nobody really wants to do that anymore. We just want to be little kids. We want to go home. We want that more than anything else. So when true parents become, even true father would talk about the word true parents itself. You don't understand how amazing that is, to be able to say true parents. The word true parents can liberate humanity. The concept that, there is true parent, there are true parents that I can look up to, someone who's broken the glass ceiling of human potential, someone standing there with the greatest love that I can achieve if I make an effort, if I can work towards that. And if I can't do it, then my descendants will. This sort of, the true parents open that up for us. And so this line is just beautiful. The day we're no longer orphans is the day we have world peace. I highlighted this everything because it comes before everyone that loves the sun. Just in honor of Day of All True Things. Everything is waiting also for true parents. They also want their offerings to be received. All the trees and the squirrels and lions and tigers and volcanoes, all of them want to bring joy to God, but they can't do it without true parents, and actually true children as well, or us, all the true parent children. So we have to, that's our role. Okay. So for true parents, they never had a break. That's the point I was getting to. But even the thought of taking a break sounds nice. But it's for true parents to take a break, there must be a tremendous cost, because it's like your parents. If one of the children is lost, you think the parents can ever relax? Do you think they ever know? They're gonna be. Someone can tell them, please relax. It's okay. We're not gonna find Johnny today. It's like, no, they're gonna be, because they feel if I took one break, there's a price to be paid. There's someone's gonna be lost. One life might get lost if I take a break. So they have that kind of pressure all the time. And so the only way they can really rest is if we restore a nation. That's basically the requirement. I've never given my body the rest it needs. Many were the times I neglected to eat or sleep. Mother is very, I wonder why there's so many coffee shops. There's a coffee shop at almost every corner, and even Heaven G Burger, there's like a cafe right in the entrance. I think Mother understands that we need coffee, and we need to stay awake, continue to do this work. But she understands. So, but my real point I want to make behind all of this is how were true parents able to work like this? Because they were so clear about what their mission was. There was no divide between God's understanding and their understanding about what their mission was. They had the parents' ministry, that they will absolutely be the parent of every single person, not just on planet Earth, but everyone who ever came and went. That your parents, they took responsibility. Like, I will be the parent in the room, in every room, and the entire cosmos. I will be the parent. And that was their ministry. And so they were so clear that sleep and everything else, that stuff will, they'll get the sleep that they need, not what they want. And they'll eat what they need, not because they want to eat, but because they need to. So too can you and me, as if we are clear in our ministry, then yes, we'll go with the things that we need to get it done. Yeah, and this last part about true father, and this is an insight about their relationship, and I want to point out, ask you, how's your relationship with your spouse, or for those who are not blessed yet, how are you cultivating that relationship with your Holy Spirit, your future spouse? And you can see Father he was consciously or unconsciously, he was preparing himself for the eternal life. So this engraving my face is hard. So this is Father, wanting to look at his Messiah. True mother is true father's Messiah. Your spouse is your Messiah. They're the ones who perfect you. They're the ones who have a love that's so great, it's inseparable. Like, even God cannot come in between a husband and wife. Like, that is so Father wanted to make for certain that when he goes to spirit world, he goes there with Mother. Sorry. And in Father's final prayer, he said to transcend the history of the fall and return to the original Garden of Eden, following only God. We can then move in the direction of the kingdom of heaven. So this is something we need to do, perfection. But it is conditional. He also proclaimed that we can restore nations through fulfilling the mission of guiding our tribes. So it was really, it was an if tribal messiahs, on the condition of tribal messiahs doing our responsibility, then yes, it's like a guarantee God will claim the whole world. So it's up to us. It really is up to us. Can we be as clear in our mission as true parents were clear in their mission? That is the question. If we're unclear or we're too afraid to ask God, what is my mission? Then we will fail. That is the other guarantee. If we're too afraid to ask God what my mission is, then I just want to be a follower. Oh, I just want to, I just want to attend. Well, attendance doesn't mean showing up at 6 a.m. every morning. Attendance means you go to God, to the mountaintop, attend God there alone, where God can tell you what your mission is. And I'm telling you what your mission is. Well, I'm not telling you. God's telling you that it's to guide your tribe. Guide your tribe. Who is your tribe? Those who align with your mission, your ministry. What is it? What are the gifts that God gave you so that your tribe can find you? What Reverend Dunkley has shown us, that you make videos, then people will find you. And then they will grow and they will start their own tribes. That's why we do need to make video. We do need to, and I repent that I don't have my own podcast. Well, maybe this is the one here. But that all of you can do this too, and spread it out, get out there. Like Dr. Young says, get out. That's what we need to do. Because True Mother is carrying the burden by herself. Reverend Dunkley too, he needs a lot of help. This is Father. He says, Mother, please take care of everything. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm truly grateful. Again and again, he said those same words. Father's sorry that he had to leave. He had to dump this entire load onto Mother. Yeah. But I'm telling you, Mother's not doing it by herself. Not if I have something to do with it.
Thank you, Pastor Milham. Okay, brothers and sisters, let's take a few moments to go into our breakout rooms, share our reflection. Thank you, everyone. Jean Gomez, could you please share for us?
Yes. My sister Kathleen and I shared, and I was saying to her that I think our true father knew that he was going into the spiritual war. Father knew that he was going to God. Father knew that he was getting close to God. This is why our true father did not want to remain in the hospital and just lie down there and wait. Father wanted to come out. Our true father wanted to come out, and he went around Chunpyong Lake and said that he has fulfilled everything, that he has accomplished everything. And our true father touched everything because he knew, our true father knew that he was going into the spiritual world. Our true father was breathing through an oxygen tank. And our true father knew, and he said that he has fulfilled everything, that he has accomplished everything. And our true father sat facing our true mother because he wanted to look at her face and engrave it in his mind. Our true father knew that when he goes, our true mother will be taken over and he will be with her. He will be with true mother. So our true father knew, he knew, and I know that that day, that Sunday, we had Sunday service at Love and Life. And then we went to 43rd Street. And at 43rd Street, the news came that our father had transitioned to the spirit world. And everybody was so shocked. People were crying. People were so sad. Brothers and sisters were so sad when they heard that news. And I know that that will go down in history. Everybody will remember where they were when the news came that our true father transitioned to the spiritual world. That will go down in history. Where were you when the news came that true father ascended to the spiritual world? And I remember it clearly. We all held hands in a circle at 43rd Street because we came from Love and Life at the Manhattan Center, and we had to go to 43rd Street. And we all held hands in a circle, and everybody gave a prayer. Everybody prayed. We prayed and we prayed. Brothers and sisters cried. We prayed and we prayed. And I can always, remember that. That will be in my mind forever and forever. Where was I when the news came that true father transitioned to the spirit world?
Yeah.
That's all.
Thank you, Jean. Yeah. All right, brothers and sisters, we're going to go straight into our 7 minutes unison prayer. Let's begin. Shija. Most beloved Heavenly Parent.
Good morning, Heavenly Parent. Good morning,
Thank you
True
so
Parent.
much, Heavenly Parent, for my brothers and sisters.
We're so grateful.
Each one of them so
We're
precious.
so grateful.
Heavenly Parent, to share their hearts about
We're so
the
grateful.
experience with two
For our
parents.
brothers.
And we are all
with us in prayer.
amazed, and I am amazed, Heavenly Parent, that
We're so grateful, Heavenly Parent.
you're actually able to
You love us so much. It is a call that you have chosen.
Who that person
Want
bring
us
this
to
history
will
to the
allow you.
conclusion where
Want us to
two
go
fathers are in
into
the spirit
your
world
will.
and two mother
human being
on this earth.
that you are son supposed to know when
That
you
Tonight
the
with true mother, this time we pray for true mother's long life, good energy.
our
Time.
destiny
Please
is
be with
connected
her.
to our true parents.
We pray, Heavenly
Our
Parent,
destiny is connected to
those
you, Heavenly Parent.
God, young and
My
family,
destiny is connected to you. You have made me. You have made each one of us, Father, and you have an intimate relationship with each one of my brothers and sisters. Each one of them has an experience and the knowledge, Father, that you are our parent.
Holy days of the secret.
Shedding tears
Father,
We're actually living through my two father and two mother.
They gave us
Pray that brothers and sisters everywhere, everybody can awaken to that reality. That particular sensitivity to your heart. At the same time, be able to overcome any kind of inhibitions, your fall nature, that we can actually have that. Without that, you're not fully functioning, flat tire, when on the engine doesn't have the gasoline in it, Father. And the vehicle is not functional, apparent. Pray that we can truly understand not only, but capture that with our heart, Father. But see everything through the heart, Father, that you have established in such to revive the heart, Father. The heart allow us to not only to see you clearly, but to see each other clearly. Where we fit in the big family, Father. What role do I play? A grandfather, a husband, an uncle, father, a cousin, a nephew, or a son. One of us has this opportunity, Father. I'm so grateful for my brothers and sisters that we're gathered here together. Pray that you please bless the missions that is before us. Whatever changes are going to take place, that we can roll with them, flow with them, Father, that each one of us know that we are not doing anything without you watching every moment of our lives, Father. That we have that role to play here on this earth, Father, especially at this time, and that your parents have set the standard, Father, to Father, Mother, that brought us to the place, Father, where now all these things happen openly and restored, Father, where to Mother is restoring the position of Eve completely to Father. Support, Father, Jesus and the Holy Spirit. We want to thank you, Father, each one of us know where we are going, Father, that through the divine principle, we have the guidance and we have the word, Father, that can lead us to that place, Father. Especially today, I pray for Joshua who's giving the sermons. Johannes allegedly have an admission. Father, I pray for each one of their families. I pray for Dean Gomez and for Kathleen Seidel. Father, for Henry, Mimi, Carl, Father, I pray for Samson Tomokono. And all the brothers and sisters that I've been able to share this morning. From Wells to Pierre, a beautiful prayer from Yao. Father, for John Watson, Father, for Ayako and her, Jurg, Michelle, Father, and Thomas Lutz, Father, for the Holmes family, Father, for Dr. Sonneborn, who is gaining spiritual strength and reviving, Father, right in front of us, Father. It's amazing to see him, his physical body is being revived by his spirit. Pray for the Onsick family, for the Arbo family, the Amagishis, the Paralympics, Father, Kumiko, the Lokawas, the Green family, the great for Desmond, Bell, and Joel, Father, for Keiko, son, the White family, Robert, and the Book family, Father, for the Tomokos family, for the Great Hall family, Isles family, the Moore family, the Green family, and Henry May, and Ray Bell, Father, and all the brothers and sisters who are coming here together for each one of the morning devotions that are going on across the world. Just set the standard, Father. I want to thank you. Stay. Your spirit, as Paul says, it is your input, your sacrifice, your constant attending us, Father, is moving things along, Father. It's really, we are participating, we're unleashing, we're allowing, Father, your input to be made available, Father.
Julian,
Find so many parents. You, having built the foundations we know, Father, when there's nobody, find anybody, you shoulder across, whatever, laying the foundation for restoration. We had the age of restoration of Abraham, Father. Jesus, the prolongation of the age of restoration, Father. This is not anything that we are planning and having created ourselves alone, Father. Yes, participating in it, we're making it happen in the end, and you're giving us always full credit. So grateful, Heavenly Parent, that you're doing this. But let me not forget, Father, that it's always foundation and the building that I'm in. With everything that I see and do and touch, experience, it's on the foundation of love, your creatorship.
Everyone. Thank you, everyone. I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Can I say something?
Please.
Yeah, during the prayer, I just felt, it's Father's Day. And I didn't feel it was a coincidence that we're hearing about True Father. So, if you, take a moment today and just pray to True Father and let him know that he was a good dad. He did his best with all the burden of responsibility he had, but he showed us what true love is. So, yeah, take a moment to say Happy Father's Day to him. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Catherine.
Yes.
2011, Father did say it in the gathering East Garden. 2012, somebody, world famous leader who died, he said it. And I wondered, who is gonna be? I did not know he was talking about himself. But he did say it. I remember that. Who is gonna be the world leader who died 2012? After he passed, I remember, he did mention 2012, somebody who died. And he definitely knew that time is coming. And that was desperate, that he knew. I remember that just wanted to share that he knew exactly what's happening in his life, that his when was ending time.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, not to mention all the prophecies around that year. Many people, Mayan calendar and all these ancients, everyone's looking at that year. So,
also, he did mention at the time of Washington Monument that he said it, Mao Zedong died. Angel told me he said it in the one gathering.
Yeah, I have to say that I went to a life reader. I think he read my poem or my, very famous anyway. He said something very important is going to happen in 2012 that's going to change my life. And I asked him, I'm going to die? I said, no, you're not going to die, but something is going to change your life in 2012. And this was 2009. And since then, I was like, what is going to happen in 2012? I came back to the church. The poem of Father's passing. Couldn't change more than that. Yeah.
On the other hand, he was clearly expecting something to happen on January 13th in 2013. It was like he was really giving Jacob's farewell speech. And when he heard that Gunjan was separating himself, then he was trying, Injun shot a video of Father trying to use his fingers to figure out a meaning for the number 13. Yeah. But I think, as Jean said, once he had this pneumonia, he knew that he was not going to be able to overcome it. That explains his coming in and out of the hospital. And also Jong-Jin, who attended him to the end. He said that father spent the last day walking back and forth in his room and connecting east and west, which then true mother began right away to do, but traveling back and forth from New World to the Old World. I think we should think about that. There's an alternative to the fact that he might know he might know he was going to die, and at the time he did.
Thank you, everybody, for your sharing.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Father's Day.
So.
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah.
Thank you.